Hey, beautiful friends. It's Catherine here from Sacred Heart Alchemy and Divinely Inspired Feminine Leaders. I'm jumping on to remind you or to encourage you if you've been sitting on the fence or wondering about my Blessed Friday, which was my language for Black Friday. I never quite understood that language and it never sat well with me. So I decided to change the name, and that made me feel a little more inclined to make an offer. It's unusual for me to do. I hadn't ever done that before. And I'm typically, although I'm generally outspoken and pretty forward and out there with what I believe and my truth, I have historically, since I've been in the coaching world, which, believe it or not, has been about 15 years now, still struggled with speaking about my offers and inviting clients in to work with me. You know, as a psychotherapist, on that side of it, people tend to just seek me out. But I am in this period of transition where after 28 years of psychotherapy, I'm winding that down. And I've been in this place of doing a really deep dive about what I really want to be providing in the world and to the world at this point in my own personal growth and development, in my own spiritual sort of awakening process. And it feels like the right time for me to sort of come out of the closet, so to speak, and be a little more open, vulnerable, and visible around my coaching offerings. As I sort of journaled to myself the other day, if people don't know I have shit to sell, nobody's going to buy, right? So I went against the grain and I put together an offer for Blessed Friday this year. And that's what I wanted to speak to you about for a few minutes, because the offer is good until midnight Eastern time this evening. And, you know, it seems like just changing the name is kind of a silly thing, but it was all a mindset shift for me. Both to get away from that hustle and sort of forcing people to buy and making some kind of, you know, big offer on Black Friday. And I thought, you know what? I know my work is very powerful and I can stand fully in that. And I've had so many clients say to me recently, sort of spontaneously, really expressing how powerful our work together has been. And so I thought, you know, I could sort of use this opportunity of this, you know, going into the holiday season as a way to offer something that I feel really good about offering, that I don't typically offer, and be able to do it at a, you know, quote, sale price so that more people could take advantage of it. And that is what I decided to do, was a one-on-one session with me, a 45-minute session where we would decide on one memory, emotion, habit, belief system, one thing that seems to have a hold on you. And then for 45 minutes to work through that energetically, intuitively, using whatever tools Spirit invites me, whether that's oracle cards or sound healing or tapping or neurokinesis, or there are so many ways that we can help to rewire the neural pathways in the brain, right? These are the pathways, these synapses, these neurons that connected when you were very young, between the time you were 6 months in utero and up until about 6 years of age, where everything that was happening in your environment, whether that was still in utero or in the family system or household or neighborhood that you lived in, all of that influenced you. And wherever your family was on the continuum of dysfunction, generally a good loving family, but parents were maybe still stressed and they had their own traumas or there were money issues, right? To something that was much more difficult to live in and day out. I mean, I've had clients whose families sounded more like war zones, honestly, than what I could ever imagine as a family system, because I was fortunate enough to have been raised by two loving, hardworking parents. And so I wanted to offer this session because I know how powerful even 45 minutes can be when we bring our loving attention and awareness to something that has been challenging. Again, whether it's a pattern, a habit, a memory, an emotion, an event that happened. When we hold that in our awareness with love and no judgment and acceptance, and follow the thread to the core wounding. This is the important piece, because it was the core wounding that created the neural pathways that may have said, I'm not safe in the world. It's not okay for me to ask for what I want. I can't let my emotions show. I need to figure out what other people need in order to keep myself safe, or to have some love shown to me in return. Of course, conditional love in that respect. But we take this all in when we're children, and our brains have not yet developed the capacity to sort of filter out what's not ours. So we take it all in. And before the time we're 7 years old, all these neural patterns based on those early life experience, being safe or not safe, having your needs met or not met, being okay to express your emotions or not express your emotions, being safe to ask for what you want or have a difference of opinion or perspective or point of view from the adults around you, can all create these beliefs, ideas, thoughts that we think enough that they become beliefs, and they become literally like pathways in our brain. And then we just start automatically going there because the pathways are so well worn. So in a session that uses the different kinds of modalities that I and other people who sort of do this combination of metaphysics and brain science and psychotherapy and sound healing and all the different ways that we can access what's beneath the surface of the conscious awareness, we can begin to repattern those neural pathways and sort of like pave over the old ones and begin to make new neural connections. And, just to give a couple of quick examples, because people are always amazed when pretty quickly I am able to connect the dots as part of my recognition magic. I can connect the dots and say, oh, well, did you ever consider that this thing that happened 25 years ago may actually be related to this depression or to this anxiety or to this inability to let yourself be vulnerable in a relationship or your fear of public speaking? And they're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, but I never thought about that. And this is what can happen when we bring intention and awareness and compassion and even forgiveness into the mix. I've recently got, sorry, I had a little bleep in my internet there. It's so clear to me. I used to think it was that you had to do the energy work to do the deep healing. And I do believe that, because I believe that we have to drop below the level of the conscious awareness. But even more than that, we have to bring in the divine. When we don't bring in all of those beautiful aspects of the divine, the unconditional love, the compassion for ourselves, for the other, the forgiveness, it's my belief that deep, lasting healing doesn't really happen. We can do a lot of reorganizing things in our brain, right? But until we bring divine love into the mix, we're just left with our human selves. So, I just used the example. I was thinking of a client today who was in her 30s, significant depression and anxiety when she came to see me. And as we spoke, it became clear to me pretty quickly that that was related to the moment that her father walked out of her life when she was 6 years old. And then when we uncovered that and were able to reframe that, she made remarkable progress. And just recently, literally working with a client in her 80s, we cleared up some things that had happened over 60 years ago, when as a young woman, she was terrified to be, to start adulting, right? To come out into the world. Her self-confidence wasn't there, no support system. She was terrified after finishing college to have to step out into the world. And she took on a pattern of avoidance and procrastinating because of the fear. And 62 years later, that pattern still has her behaving in ways that don't serve her. And she knows it, right? There's OCD, there's hoarding, or just not dealing with things. And when we made the connection today to that 21-year-old aspect of herself, it was just light bulbs went off. And then we just dropped into this work that was super powerful. And even myself, I'm back in school again, because, that's me, always looking for something deeper to dive into. And so I'm in a year-long mystery school program called the Kairos Healers Academy. And we did a guided imagery today around our relationship with money. And I've done a lot of this work over the last 25 years because it's just been part of what I do. But today, when we did the guided imagery part, this new piece of information filtered into my mind, and we were actually looking at our family stories and our ancestry. But this was a little different for me because it felt like a past life where, as a lifetime when I was a healer or a midwife in my village, in my community. And it was, during the time when the patriarchy was beginning to dismantle the matriarchy, calling women witches and causing them to turn on each other. And it was in a period of time like that when my livelihood was taken from me as a healer and a midwife, and I was banished. In that particular lifetime, not killed, but banished. And I really had no way of taking care of myself or providing for myself. And I think there's always been a little bit of this hiding out about bringing my offers forward for, somehow still this fear of being singled out, this fear of being called a charlatan or, a witch, or who do you think you are, right? That wasn't really consciously there for me, but I think on some level, there was a piece of that was still playing in my neural pathways, in my cellular memory, in my past life, stories that was preventing me from really stepping forward. So I share all that because there's probably, let me see the time, about 5 hours left, a little more than 5 hours now, to take advantage of the offer that I decided to bring forward. And if you haven't been clear about what the offer is, I hope it is clear now. It's a one-on-one session, 45 minutes with me. We will look at whatever one thing you bring into the session, and then we'll work the magic energetically, spiritually, vibrationally, and every other way we want to come at it, and really shift some very deep, very core wounding that may have still be impacting you in ways that you really had no idea. And it's amazing how much that will free up your energy, how it'll shift your mindset, how it'll allow you to show up more fully in your life in whatever way you've been holding back, maybe even in ways you were not fully aware of. So I invite you to look at my other posts for the days leading up to this, where the link is in the post. And it's very simple. You just click on the link. It takes you to a scheduling calendar, and you make your payment there. It's only $77, which is a remarkable deal. I don't even do one-on-one sessions anymore. And so to be able to access even a 45-minute block of time with me, I sincerely believe will be life-changing for you. And in closing, whether you decide to move forward with the offer or not, I wanted to share with you, I pulled a card, just asked Spirit which card would serve the most number of people who would listen to this. And I used the Divine Feminine deck by Megan Watterson. And the beautiful Divine Feminine Master, Goddess, Saint, Teacher is the card I pulled is Teresa of Avila, who was a 16th century mystic who basically joined the Carmelite order and then expanded it tremendously. And she is known as Our Lady of the Interior Life. And her statement, and there's a lot more in the book, but I'll just share the statement with you. I trust the answers I find within me. I know that the presence of love is real. So I will leave you with that beautiful thought from sweet Saint Teresa of Avila. And if you are feeling called to connect with me around this offer, please listen to that call, right? To that call of your heart or to your soul, to say yes and take advantage of this opportunity. And I look forward to either seeing you in a session or back here on Facebook or who knows where. All right. Have a beautiful evening. Bye now.